Now, we're delighted to welcome back to the show Chip Beck, who is with us, a four-time winner on the PGA Tour. He's finished second in the Masters. He's finished second in two US Opens, fifth on in the PGA in 1990. Won four times between 1988 and 92, where he was also a top 10 player in the world. Ryder Cup player, not least at Kiowa, three times a Ryder Cup player, and plenty more besides. Chip, it's great to have you with us. How you doing?
I couldn't be better. I'm thrilled to be with you. I mean, it's unfortunate I had all those second place finishes, isn't it? It's terrible. I did beat Ian Woosnam, though, when he was number one player in the world at the Ryder Cup in '91. That was probably a big feather in my cap, because you remember that year he drove it over the bunker at 18 at Augusta, hit a 9-iron in there, and won the tournament. I thought that was I still can't believe it, but I'll never forget. I played the World Match Play. And Wentworth was a course he knew like the back of his hand. And I three-putted 3 or 4 times that morning, and I gave him the match. And at the Ryder Cup, I said, there is no way he's going to beat me 2 times in a row. I can't stand it. And what was funny about it, we had parties every night, and he loves to drink. And he was having such a good time. I thought, man, how is he going to beat me? He's just loaded every night. But you know what? I hold it out of the bunker. I hold it out. I did everything I could possibly do and barely beat him. He's just a gifted guy. It was phenomenal. He was a great person too. I loved Ian Woosnam.
So I don't know where to start here. So let's take the majors for a second then. Second at the Masters 93, second twice at the US Open. That period in your early 30s, kind of 86 to 93, you were a top 10 player in the world. You were really hunting around majors. That was obviously your best golf. That was when you were really in the hunt.
I thought I was going to be the number one player in the world. I actually did, and I was going for it. And you know, as life goes on, sometimes you make mistakes, and I've learned from my mistakes. But I made too many changes too quickly, and it got me.
Okay.
And that's what happens in golf, right? So I had too many second place finishes.
What was your best chance in those majors? Like the Masters 93 is always thrown at you. For instance.
Well, the thing about Augusta, I played it like 13 times, and I hit a low cut. Playing a low cut when you're my size, I'm 5'11", and 170 pounds. You have to hit a hook, and if you hit a hook like Bernhard Langer or Curtis Strange, you got a chance to play there. But a low fader like Trevino, Hale Irwin. I mean, I think Hale Irwin had 1 top 10 at Augusta. So Hank Haney taught me how to hit an open face draw. I was hooking the ball 25 yards with my driver, swing hooking it. I never played like that. But I went around Amen Corner on Sunday playing with Bernhard Langer, and I thought to myself, this is the first time that I feel like I can win this tournament. And with a little bit of here and there, like Bernhard hooked from the right side of the fairway on 11 all the way across the green, a 5-iron. He's begging it to stay up. It was 6 inches from going in that lake. And then the 13th hole, well, 12, he got it up and down, and I missed a short putt. I thought it was going to go towards the water. It went to the right towards the bunker. And then 13, you know, I hit it forward right over the flag, and he hit one right over the flag. Well, I putted first because we're on the same line. My ball got down to the hole, broke 2 inches left. He saw that. He made it. That's the tournament. That's how close it is. But I thought to myself, this is the first time I've been around Amen Corner with a chance to win, and I was even ecstatic about it because I knew that next year, and maybe even this time, I was going to win that tournament. I had a chance to win. So at the end of the day, I was really happy. And then they criticized me for laying up it. I think Venturi called me a coward. I'd never been called a coward. And man, that really hurt.
Yeah.
You know, and people, you know, thought I was a coward from that point on. It's like, wow, they don't really get it, you know.
He said you were
laid up at 15.
Yeah.
I mean, it was ridiculous.
He said you were playing for second place, actually, and you were what? You were 236 yards to the front. Langer laid up as well, interestingly. You were 3 shots down. So the logic was, look, you're 3 shots down, you're on the 15th, you've just got to go for it. That was the easy logic people had.
Yeah, and so what happens is I'm 10 yards behind my go point. It's 240 right to the front. It's 250 to the front of that green. The bunker is on the right is 10 yards, it's 240. I can get there. But the problem is that particular year they put mounds in the right side of the fairway. and I was behind one of the mounds. I had to shoot the ball straight up in the air with a 25-mile-an-hour breeze into my face. And so I'm 10 yards behind my goal point. It's a new 3-wood. I'm thinking, you know, how can you risk the tournament on one shot? And then I looked at the flag, and the flag is normally they'll put it 3 feet on the front edge. Well, then I've got to go to the bunker, try to get it in the bunker so I can get it up and down, because it's unlikely that you're going to make, you know, a 3 or a 4 when the flag's right on the front. It's just impossible. So the flag was 30 feet back or 30 yards back. I thought, it's an open flag. And sure enough, somebody in front of me hold it. And so they criticized me for that. And I'm thinking, you know, I was trying to figure out, I knew where the flags were, how to make some birdies so I could get in the playoff. And the funny thing about it, Ray Floyd told me, he said, Chip, I was in the same position the year before, and I just tried, and I laid up. And he said, I tried to get into the playoff. He got into the playoff, and Faldo beat him. And then Nicholas told me, he said, Chip, you did the right thing. So, I mean, yeah, I felt good about it, and you have to play your game. But it's really funny, the certain nuances of golf, because I knocked it on the green at 2 from 254. And that's what Langer's thinking, gosh, you should have gone for it. But, man, I crushed that thing on 2, and there's no water there. And the risk isn't there. So,
did you ever talk to Ken Venturi about it afterwards?
I did not, but I will tell you this. My caddy, Venturi came up to my caddy and asked my caddy, and I'll tell you the guy's name. His name is Pete Bender. He's a good caddy, for Norman. He carried for a lot of the big dogs, you know. And anyways, he said I should have gone for it. But I told Pete, I said, Pete, you know that's not true. It affected your ego because you thought you would have gone for it. But the reality is you worked for me, and therefore you're out. And we broke off from there because you can't have that going on. But that really hurt me that my own caddy would tell Venturi, yeah, he should have gone for it. Well, he knew more about it than Venturi, and he knew as much about it as I did. But, you know, caddies have issues just like players, you know what I mean? And they have personalities, and they don't want to be seen in a certain light. So anyways, I like Pete, but that was the end of it for me, you know. So that's life, and that's golf, right? And Pete and I are friends, you know, as friends can be. And I respect him because he's a good hard worker. But you know what? You got to support your player, in my opinion.
So was that the last time he ever caddied for you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Wouldn't it be last for you?
Yeah. I think once that trust is broken, there's probably no coming back. But it's interesting. Like, you seem –
I've never mentioned that before anywhere, though.
Right. It's great that, well, we're over a quarter of a century on, that, you know, you are still so sure of that you took the right decision. And like, the commentary is fascinating from Venturi, because straight away the first thing he says is there's no laying up from here, and sort of backs himself into that corner, and then obviously makes the comments that Joe mentioned of, it's, you know, you're settling for second place.
Yeah, for the Ryder Cup. I'd already been in the Ryder Cup.
The outside world don't hear what Jack Nicklaus says to you privately, and what these greats of the game, and people who've been in that position and know all the undulations of Augusta National, and know just how difficult it is. And I know James Diaz wrote an article the next day saying exactly that nobody knows but the person standing there. You know your game better than everybody else. Does it frustrate you then, all the noise that's been around it, for even still when it's played back every year around the time of the Masters, that the simple argument is, well, he just laid up because he was happy with the money, and he was happy with second place and the Ryder Cup points? That, I don't know, I don't say he bottled it, but that you wouldn't put it all on the line when it really mattered.
Yeah, that's so foolish. I'd played 2 Ryder Cups, and I was making good money anyways. But for us in our generation, I finished 9th and 10th in 2 consecutive U.S. Opens. I didn't even make $10,000, you know, in the early 80s. And it's like, what in the world? We didn't play for the money. We played for the love of the game. And that was the whole thing that drove me. I wanted to be the best player in the world because that's what I wanted to do as a kid. I was driven for that. And I remember when Curtis Strange beat me at Oak Hill in Rochester, New York. On the 16th hole, I hit a driver 6-iron just underneath the hole. And I've got a 10-footer straight in. It looks like it's going straight towards that bunker, straight downhill. I left my putt short hanging on the lip. I didn't have the courage or whatever. Curtis Strange hit driver 6-iron, same putt, slammed it in the back of the hole. And the thing was, the 17th and 18th holes, nobody could make birdie on because the holes protected themselves. They were too difficult. The green was too undulated. You could make par. Most people made par. There were in the whole field, there might be 2 birdies, you know. So I knew that was the tournament, and I didn't have it to knock that putt in. And I always tease Curtis about it. I said, Curtis, man, you deserve it. You made that putt. That took courage. That was the tournament, and you knew it. And so anyways, that's the fun of it. And for me, I don't have any regrets because I gave it everything I had, and I enjoyed every minute of it. And I was telling my mom just recently, I was in my hometown of Fayetteville, North Carolina, where I grew up, and we drove by the golf course, and I said, Mom, I cannot believe how much time I spent playing golf. For 50 years, I tried to be the best player I could possibly be, and nothing entered my mind other than how am I going to get better. So when you have that focus, my life just zipped by. So I've been off the Champions Tour now for a few years, and I'm like, it's a whole different world, but I still can't believe how much time and energy I put into it. But I loved every minute of it. I actually loved, I mean, you know, to be friends with Jack Nicklaus. I met Jack, we played Troon, 1984, I think it was, the British Open. And on the second hole, this was the 3rd round, and there's a 3rd round cut. And I'm playing with Nicklaus, and in that second hole, I hit it in the right bunker. I bladed it over the green, and that's one of the best parts of my game. I don't know if I've ever bladed one, and because I was really good at. If you look at my stats, bunker play was one of my gifts. So, anyways, I hit some practice swings there, and I go around the green, and I hit up on the green, hit my ball out, and what have you. And when we got finished, the official said, Chip, we had 1,000 people call in and said that you took practice swings in that bunker. And they said it was a wraparound bunker, and I couldn't even remember. I said, Mr. Nicklaus, did I do that? He said, yeah, you did. And I said, give me 2. And I missed the cut by 2 shots, the Saturday cut. And you know what? He never forgot me. And so he started inviting me to his parties. We became friends. So it was worth it, the way I look at it. But that's how nervous I was playing, because when I was 10 years old, Nicklaus came to my hometown. He was 27 years old. He's kind of like Rory McIlroy. He'd won 7 majors. Yeah, he was the greatest player in the world, but he wasn't in the Ryder Cup because at that time he didn't fit the requirement of 5 years as a PGA member. He came to Fayetteville with Raymond in 1967, the summer I started playing. I followed those guys around. Raymond gave me 30 brand new Wilson Staff golf balls, and I thought to myself, gosh, this is what I want to do. And I never looked back. So it's a small world, isn't it? Golf's a great world, though.
Chip, can I ask you, like, anything I've read about you, you had a reputation, your nickname was Mr. Positive for a good chunk of your career. But can you talk to me something? One of my earliest memories of the Ryder Cup, not my first, but certainly early doors, was the 1991 War on the Shore at Kiowa. Tell us what actually happened in that Friday foursomes between yourself, Paul Azinger, and Ollie and Sebi.
Well, that particular year, they had a rule change. You had to play the same golf ball. We'd forgotten about it. And so the wind
Did you forget
up,
or did you forget?
I think they mentioned it to us in a meeting, but I'd forgotten all about it. It's really my fault because I said, Zinger, let me hit your ball so that you can hit your shot into the green, because usually we could hit the green in 2, but it was into the wind, a strong wind. And Sebi hurt us. He overheard us. We switched balls up. I hit Zinger's ball off the tee, boom, laid up, and then he hit it into the green, hit his shot into the green on the 3rd shot, or however that works. So then they didn't say anything after 8. And after 9, they said, we think we've had a problem. Paul played the wrong ball. And, so they were like 3 down at the time. We were killing them. And so there was a real scuffle between Sevy and Zinger because they're both like big. They're like big stallions. They're like racehorses, and they're on high end, right? And so they started fighting. No, I'm not cheating. You're saying I'm cheating. I'm not. No. So they go back and forth. And the good news for me was that if the infraction wasn't called on the hole where it happened, it was a non-event. And I said, Zing, this is the greatest day of my life, man. Nothing's going to happen. And I said, so settle down, let's go. But Zinger was so upset on the 10th hole, he ran a putt about 4 feet by. He was trying to just bury him. And I knew that putt was real critical. And it's kind of like a straight putt that might go left, but the grain's kind of going right. So I hit it inside the hole, and it just edged by. And if you look at that match, Sevy made about a 40, 50-footer on 17 to close us out. It was like, man, this guy is really fun to play. He was tough. Yeah. So
tell me this though, Chip. Earlier in that round, so before all of this kicks off about the playing the ball, had you asked the officials to keep an eye on Ollie and Sevy?
Well, what happened was Sevy was hitting the ball wild off the tee. And so one par 5, he literally, if we're going this way, he hit it over there. And he wanted to drop it over here. He's 50 yards off the tee. and Zinger, this is a long par 5. It's a definite 3-shot par 5. And Zinger said, you can't drop it there. You hit it over there. Your ball's 50 yards left of that. You can't do that. Call the official. Man, it took forever. No, I hit it. It went in here. This is where I drop it. And I said, Paul, don't worry about it. We're going to beat him. There's no way he can make less than 7 from here. It's impossible. He's not going to make a 5 or a 4 from here. We're going to bury him right here. That's where it starts. All the arguments, man. He said, Chip, I take this personally. You can't do this. I take this personally. He could still remember Faldo when he lost the British Open to it. Chip, it's personal. I don't want to lose to these guys. So he's fighting for everything. And that's what I loved about it. The fun of it was watching them. And Paul was the kind of guy, he was like a racehorse. Just get on him and strike the rein a little bit. And can I knock it between that 10-yard opening with my driver off the deck? Zinger, that's your shot. Do it. Knock it right on the green. You can do anything. He literally, and Sevy was the same way. They were street fighters. And I wasn't kind of that way. And I don't think Ollie was that way either. Ollie was kind of watching as well. But we had
wasn't
a good
there
time.
a weird was on the next day, on the Saturday morning, was there like, didn't Ray Floyd and Sevy have, well, Sevy was doing it, that little bit of coughing. Didn't Ray Floyd just go, hoi? What did he say? He said something.
On the 9th hole, it's a dogleg right left par 4. And I got right at the top of my swing. It was a real important drive because if you drive it really well, you can get 2 clubs shorter into the green. I got there, and right as a transition, and I eased up. Cost me 2 clubs into that. And Zinger's, Chip, should I say something? I said, Zinger, act like it didn't happen. That was the first time it happened. Act like it didn't happen, but it kept going. And it started driving us a little crazy. So we talked about it that night. And then Raymond was on the tee the next morning, and Sevy did it. I can't remember who, but Raymond ran to Sevy and said, Sevy, we're not going to play like this. If we play like this, we're going to have real problems today. And Sevy didn't do it the rest of the day. So what's really funny, one of my friends told me that Sevy actually went to the doctor to find out what his cough was. But he was such a gamer. Sevy was a great gamer. He could time it, clearing his throat. Right in transition is like, so it was impressive. But that was Sevy, we loved him for it. You got everything Sevy had and everything he could throw at you. I love that about him. He was a great competitor.
You guys were all fired up. I mean, that was the famous, the army clothes on and, and that you've Zinger. And I mean, that war on the shore wasn't far off it.
Well, what was really amazing in my day, I mean, I probably shouldn't even be saying this, but you know, the English guy Faldo didn't get along with the Scottish guy, you know, and Montgomery, and they had a lot of conflict. And did they like Bernhard? I don't know. It seemed like they had a lot of conflicts amongst themselves. They just didn't seem that friendly. I thought, gosh, there's no way these guys could beat us. But after the war on the shore, everybody loved to hate the Americans. I felt that, and they ganged up against us. It unified their team, and man, so that really did play a lot into it, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. But you know, Sandy Lyle and Nick Faldo became the best of friends, and it's really funny stuff happened. But they were a great team. There's no doubt about it. Those guys, every one of them is in the Hall of Fame.
It must be brilliant to have those memories of going up against Sevi, because your Ryder Cup history is tied so much with his. Your first ever Ryder Cup, like, what an incredible experience. First morning, you go out with Tom Watson up against Sevi and Ollie. How did you sleep the night before that?
Well, what's really funny about that, you know, even Marco Mira in the player meeting, he said, you know, Tom, you intimidate me. I don't play my best, because they wanted to, Stockton or Floyd wanted to pair, you know, those two together. And Marco Mira said, you know, I really should bow out. I'm just not at my best with you. You intimidate me. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm intimidated too, but at the end of the day, I'll be a better player if I can watch Tom Watson play and be close with him. I always respected Tom, and I felt close to him, even though, you know, I didn't have the game he had, but I never backed down from it, and I wasn't afraid of it. And so it's really fun. Like Tom would say, Chip, we're going to beat this flippy-wristed Ollie today. Don't you worry. Coming down the stretch, we're going to get these boys. We got to have out of them. But, I mean, Watson was a good fighter, and he liked to pick things out that maybe weaknesses of Sevi and Ollie, and, you know, so it would strengthen our sword a little bit. So I love playing with Tom Watson, and he was a great, great competitor. And, you know, to get a have out of them, that was a big thing. Neutralize their team. That wasn't done very often. But Zinger and I, the first time we played in that year, you know, we were rookies. Zinger and I were rookies, and Ray Floyd was the captain. And Ray was from Fayetteville, North Carolina, where I grew up. And his dad was actually teaching me at the time. And when I finished second in the U.S. Open, it was to Raymond Floyd in '86. His dad was coaching me. But Raymond came into that meeting and said, Zinger and Beck, you've earned your way on this team. I'm counting on you. I'm putting you in. Play hard. That was the best thing you could have said, because you know what? He put us in the fire. He depended on us. And you know what? A team's only as good as its weakest link. And a lot of the other captains, I don't know if they really believe that, but he believed everybody's in, and we're going to go at this as a team. And I really love that and respected that with Ray Floyd. He was a great coach. Dave Stockton was that way too.
Yeah. And Chip, you mentioned there, that was fascinating, by the way, that you learned to sling a hook with an open face around Augusta. And you mentioned you were good in bunkers. So what was your game then? How do you know, when you're in this period where you're winning PGA Tours and finishing second in various majors and a Ryder Cup player, what were you good at for people who maybe didn't see you at your best? What was Chip Beck's way of getting around a golf course?
My strength is that I never quit. And that no matter what happened, okay, I just made double. All right, what if I'd have made birdie? How would I have felt? Okay, that's what I'm trying to do. I mean, because you get slayed and you get hurt, and it's painful to lose tournaments on your own mistakes. And so my skill was being able to continually come at and be in the game and keep pushing and keep being there. As I was like the poker player that waited for those putts to drop. I was going to be there. And when those putts started dropping, I was going to ride that wave. And I knew I was going to get hot. At one time during the week, I always got hot. And I kept waiting and pushing for that. And it might come at the end of the tournament. It's middle of the tournament, the last 9, whenever. But I was in the tournament. And so one of the problems that I had was when I started playing poorly. And I started I got burnout.
When was that, Chip? When was that?
Gosh, right after it was at the start of the 94 season. I changed equipment. That was the feather that broke the camel's back, because changing equipment, I went with a company that couldn't have a driver. I didn't have a driver that worked until the British Open. And the irons, they wouldn't fit me. I couldn't get the irons to fit me because they were titanium at that time. And you couldn't bend titanium 1 degree or the club would snap. It took me 6 months to get my game organized, my equipment. And then I was burnt out. I'd accepted a lot of money from the company. I mean, at that time, it was a contract for like $650,000 for 4 years, which was like a lifetime of money. Because in 1988, when Curtis won the Tour Championship, he goes from, I think, 9th on the list. I was first on the list. He made $650,000, or right there with the Nabisco money and all the other things. He beat me like $90,000 to get the Arnold Palmer Trophy, which was the money award for the year, and I won the Barden Trophy. And so that was the first time a guy made $1 million in 1988. So you're talking just a few years later, I'm signing this contract for like an amazing amount of money, but the company just couldn't get it done. And so that set me back. So I struggled with that. And then the problem that I had, I found out that the rest in the music is equally as important as the music itself. I should have taken a rest because I was really worn out. And I'd had some personal issues I'd gone through, first marriage, all that kind of stuff. I had children, I had all. So anyways, I got burnout and I kept pushing, exercising morning and night, doing my everything. I just kept going. And eventually you can't play your best when you're burnt out.
Am I right?
Impossible.
Am I right in saying, because I read this and I just wanted to double check, 46 consecutive missed cuts. Is that the number?
Yeah, I almost set the record. Doug Ford, who won the Masters, actually set the record at I think it was like 56 or something. I got even higher than that. But
how is that even possible? 46 consecutive missed cuts.
Don't worry, Chip. I was close here at the end of my career. I nearly spent a whole season coming home at the weekend, so I know it's what it's like.
I was totally positive and optimistic that my game would turn around and that I'd be able to do it. And that, like I said, my disciplines kept me practicing and moving forward, even though my mind was just really fried. And that's the problem. I should have really taken a rest, but I didn't know then what I know now.
Did you think then, Chip, of taking a break? Like when I finished up my season, 2014, I went to Australia to keep my card. And then I knew when I got my card, I said, I need to take a break. And I didn't listen to myself. But in your case, did you say, was there anything in the back of your mind that said to you, I need to take a break? Or
everything was saying that, but you have financial responsibilities. And like I said, we didn't make the money that the guys are making today. And, you talk about the teams today, where they play the Ryder Cup, and then they play the President's Cup, and they've got that's what happens to the American team. They're playing, a big international event every year. So Tiger and Phil, it's going to wear them out. So that it's hard to take a break. So fortunately for them, I think they've been pretty smart at it. Nicklaus was the best. He never played more than 12 events. Think about it. That's like a half season for me. I played like 26 events for 20 years. It was a way of life. You had to make a living, and that was just the way it was done. And I always played my best when I played a few tournaments in a row. I got on a roll. I got momentum, and momentum in sports is just hard to beat. So Paul, Peter, you played in the Ryder Cup. Did you get a Ferrari for winning all your matches?
No, I didn't play the Ryder Cup. You're thinking.
Oh, you did. Paul,
that never happens. That never happens.
I'm sorry, Peter. I got you mixed up. But I'm thinking.
I don't mind. He hates it, but I have no problem with it.
He has a mini claret jug, Peter does, just in case he ends up and he can get a few autographs signed and all that.
Very, very good. Very good. You got the accent too. I love it.
Hey, Chip, can I ask you? So a week after the 1991 Ryder Cup, you're playing the Las Vegas Invitational, and you shot a 59. Okay, so it's the second 59 ever on the PGA Tour, but this is and I think you had a record number of birdies. I think did you have 13 birdies?
Yeah, it's the only one with 13 birdies because the other ones are on like par 70.
Okay,
par 71.
So when in the course of the round did the brain start going, holy moly, I'm getting close. I can go below 60 here.
Well, the night before, it was a new tournament in Las Vegas. We had 5 new courses. I hadn't seen the courses. This one in particular, Sunrise, I hadn't seen. And so Dick Mast and John Cook and all our caddies were putting on the green, then chipping on the green at Sunrise the night before. And the caddies were saying, this course is where you can shoot 59. Get ready for it.
Wow.
You can reach the par 5s. You know, there's some wedge holes in par 4s. It's a sitting duck for 59. And a funny aside to that is I remember in 1990, not only did Jaime Diaz in 1990 predict that Chip Beck would win shoot the 59 that year. Can you imagine? You mentioned Jaime Diaz earlier. Jaime predicted that. But then I'm sitting there with Eric Hilton, who was putting up $1 million for the first guy to shoot 59. And so we're at the tour banquet, and he says, Chip, did you hear Hilton Corporation is giving away $1 million for the first guy to shoot 59? Well, my wife kicks me on the table and says, Chip, you're going to get it. Eric heard that. And I said, Eric, let me tell you one thing, or Mr. Hilton, I said, let me tell you one thing. You put up $1 million, the tour guys will get it. I saw Don Pooley make a hole of 1 iron on the 17th hole at Bay Hill when he had a spot maybe 2 feet in diameter that he had to hit it into. And it was into the wind. It was a miracle shot, and he made it for $1 million. So I said, somebody will get it. But anyways, I played the Ryder Cup. I was so exhausted. I took a week and a half off or whatever it was. I came to Las Vegas. I played a couple of rounds. It was like the 3rd round. I hit my drive in the right rough. I fatted a 7-iron on the front of the green. I had a 60-footer that I still remember. It was straight uphill. The putt, I hit it, and I said, man, that's hit good. I looked at the center of the hole, watched that ball. I said, man, that's really good. I can't believe it. That ball's going to go right in the middle. It kept going. It slammed out the back of the hole, and the hole looked like a bucket. I started making every putt. Because at Kiel, you're always windy. The greens were undulated. It was a new course. You know, in Pete Dye, you never get a straight putt. It's always breaking 2 and 3 different ways. It was like almost impossible to make a putt. So I felt like I didn't make a putt for a month playing the Ryder Cup. And then all of a sudden that thing went right in. It was like, whew, it opened right up. So I knew it was possible. And then my caddy Dave, like even at the Ryder Cup, this is how good Dave Woosley is. He's a great caddy. He's still caddying on tour. I'm playing the #1 player in the world. I get to 17, and Payne Stewart's hitting me on my back saying, come on, Chip, come on. I said, Payne, you're killing me. You hit me so hard. I get to the tee at 17, and my caddy Dave says, Chip, you just laid up with your brassy. What was it, that TaylorMade brassy at the time? You just laid it up 210 yards. It's 209 to the hole. It's a brassy. I said, Dave, give me that brassy. I took it, teed it up, hit it right over the flag, never thought about it, knocked it right on the green, and I won 2 and 1. It was like, oh. But Dave was caddying for me. He said, Chip, go here, hit it 240 down the left side. See that tree? Hit it right there. And I just followed him around, and not knowing what was going to come, it was incredible. And one of the things that really was incredible about looking back on it, because I got to the point where I literally didn't think I could break 80. I was playing so poorly, and I was in a slump. And one night I had a dream, and I remembered the wind switched. I was on the 17th tee. It's a par 3. The wind switches. And I said, Dave, maybe I should 1, 2 hop it and let it fall up underneath the hole. Because I was aiming left, I played a cut. But the wind started coming too hard from the right. So sure enough, I boom, boom, up underneath the hole. And it's one of these 2-tier greens. And the flag was just on the crest. if I'd have hit it left, stayed above the hole, yeah, I'd had a foot break, a 2-foot break, and it'd been impossible to make. But as it was, I had a 10-footer below the hole that broke probably 6 inches, a sharp curver. Those are easy to make. And then on the last hole, I stood there and I remembered thinking, it's 151 or whatever it was. It's a 7-iron for me at the time. And I said, my ball's sitting down. If I can hit it a little bit firmer, I don't know how many more putts I can make because, you know, the greens were getting bumpier, and that time we wore metal spikes. And in Arizona, when you kick up a dirt clod, it gets like a deflection. It was like it got hard dirt. It's like, so these spike marks were really effective that day. So I said, I need to get this ball in the hole. And when I hit it, I remember seeing it in my dream. It came out perfect. I could see the spin on the ball. I said, go in the hole, ball. And I actually thought it was going to go in. And I got up there, and it was on the upside of the hole. And there were 2 spike marks in my line. And I knew that if I got nervous and got quick, I'd pull it left. It'd hit the left spike mark. The ball had no chance. But if I could roll the ball, it would hit the first one, hit the second one, catch the right side of the hole. So I said, just settle down, Chip, give it a chance, roll it. So I could imagine it rolling. When I hit it, it went boom, boom, caught the right side of the hole. But the most amazing thing is when I was thinking about this when I was playing so poorly, I thought to myself, you know what? You play golf in your imagination. You don't play with your swing. You play what you see, and the mind is so much stronger than any verbalization or any kind of physical thought. It's just, so that's when I started recovering. And it's fun how you can look back on your career. But one of the things that I see, and this is the last thing I'll say about it, but you know, when I was in my 20s, I was playing with Trevino, I was playing with Floyd, I was playing with Archer, I was playing with Nicklaus. Palmer was a little bit too old. He was 30 years older, but I was playing with guys in their 40s, and they would laugh at me. The first time I played with Chi Rodriguez, we played this little course. It was a pitch and putt course in Hartford, Connecticut. And he looked at me and he hit me. He said, Chip, you're the worst wedge player I've ever seen. Get over here. Get over here. Put that ball back in your stance. Chop down on it. At least you'll get it on the green. But see, the young kids today, they don't have any of that wisdom coming from the older guys. I think that's a real loss because they lose the continuity and the beauty of the game, which is learning from people like Trevino. I was in the bunker with Trevino once in the Arizona course. I was plugged in the middle of the bunker, big, deep bunker, TPC course. I couldn't get out. At least cut Chip. Come on. You take that club straight up and knock it vertically straight down. And the steeper you come, the higher the ball goes out. He lifted out twice. I still couldn't get out. I mean, that's how ingenious these guys were, but they were teaching me all along. And I'll never forget how wonderful that was. You know, I asked George Archer, who was actually, he was illiterate, which is hard to imagine, but I never saw him give a speech. I never saw him write anything, but he literally was illiterate. He grew up on a farm in California. And I said, George, what do you think about when you hit that shot? We're playing in Columbus, Georgia. He said, Chip, I look at the back of that ball and I see where I'm going to hit it and where I want that ball to go in that hole. I see that shot, little on the uphill, hitting a 6-iron. I see it. I keep my eye focused there and I hit that spot. I mean, it's simple, isn't it? But that's the kind of thing you learn from the veterans.
What was Nicklaus like?
Nicklaus was a true gentleman. And gosh, I'll never forget the shot he hit at Troon first time I played with him. He hit this long, beautiful, towering rocket 1-iron. We could watch it. It hits, kicks dead right, goes dead right across the fairway. We get down there walking side to side, and the ball is buried in a divot. The ball's underground. He said, Chip, that's British golf, isn't it? That's the kind of guy he was. He never would pull against you. He never would do anything to hurt your play. He was a true gentleman, a true competitor, and one of the greatest humans I've ever been around at that level of competition, because he truly was the type guy that didn't have to knock you down. He would help you up and still beat you. I love that kind of guy.
And
was he a talker on the golf course?
He was very conversational, kind, just normal, which, I mean, just like he is today. He would talk to you very normally about different circumstances, situations. I mean, the most interesting thing, I asked him, you know, because we're playing this long par 3, and it's into a gale, you know, and the wind's coming in there, and I stand up there, and I said, well, I'm going to rifle this 1-iron in there. I play it back, hood it down, roll it in there. Man, it's going good. Pop, pop, pop. It's in the bunker. Nicklaus hits 3 wood straight up in the air. It comes down short of the green. And I said, man, Jack, I thought you'd be doing something with that ball. He said, Chip, I never do anything that I can't do. And I thought, this guy's he's ingenious, isn't he? And that was, so he talked to you like that. That was pretty impressive for somebody to talk to you like that. And so he would teach me, and he would help me that way. I loved him. I still love him. He's an incredible person. And he's raising a lot of money down there for the Children's Hospital in Miami.
You think the guys coming out on tour now, Chip, when you're watching on TV, they come out knowing they give the impression that they know more than the older guys, and the older guys are kind of just pushed aside, rather than when I came out on tour, I was trying to learn from, like yourself, you know, the older guys on tour. Now they come out from college and they seem to know everything, and they don't want to know. They just go about their own games.
Well, what's really good about the tour today, you can have guys come out and go straight on tour. Curtis Strange, it took him 4 years to get on tour. And when he got on tour, he just had the opportunity to qualify. My first year on tour, I finished second in the tour school. It took me until July of that year to actually qualify for a tournament. We got to Phoenix. There were 4 courses, 150 guys for 1 spot at each course. They took 4 guys. So you got knocked down to the very bottom. You'd lose your confidence. I had friends just quit. They said, Chip, I can't take all this travel and not being in the tournaments. So, you know, when you take a guy like Curtis Strange, our best player at the time, it takes him 4 years to get in, and then he's qualifying, it makes you really tough. And I'll never forget J.C. Sneed he'd laugh at guys like us because he was tough enough. He wasn't afraid of you. And, you know, like I remember I played with Sam Sneed in 1979, my first tournament. He broke his age in a PGA tournament at Quad Cities. And he says, Chip, off the first tee, he said, son, let me tell you something. Keep that ball in your stance. You can't play with the ball up outside your stance. That was Sam. And guys weren't afraid of you. They welcomed anybody. I remember Tiger Woods, we're standing on the green watching him come up. And I forgot who it was. He would say, here comes that young phenom, Tiger Woods. He's 16 playing in the LA Open. And I'm thinking, 16 in the LA Open? That's incredible. And the guys said, yeah, come on, Tiger, bring it on. Bring your game on. Nobody could imagine somebody that good. Tiger really was remarkable. And, you know, the tour was so different. So for instance, like you take a guy like DeChambeau. You know, he won the NCAA and he won the U.S. Amateur. There are only 2 guys that have done that before, Nicklaus and Crenshaw. Nicklaus, look what Nicklaus did. He won the U.S. Open his first year, and then Crenshaw won his first 2 PGA Tour events. DeChambeau, it took him 1.5 years to win. So, you know, DeChambeau likes all that new technique and all that rolling of the hands, but I can tell you he's got a technique that's very difficult, and you could see it because, I mean, he's a child prodigy. You know, he should be like a Jordan Spieth or a Justin Thomas. These guys are real child prodigies, but I think the tour is so much better because they're able to get right out and perform, and they don't lose their confidence. I like seeing that bravado. Hey, these guys, they should move on. They should get out. We're coming through now because they're really gifted players, and you can see the way they play. And you take a guy like Jordan Spieth, he should have broken all of Tiger Woods' records starting out, because I don't think anybody's putted as well as Jordan Spieth since Bobby Jones. And you know what 10 years Tiger had putting, it was phenomenal. But I think Jordan Spieth was even better. He's pretty much proved that.
So you clearly, like, even the way you talk about the game, like you're moving your hands, you're putting your hands in the grip, you're shaping the shots. You're still in love with the game, and you play with, you know, Snead and Nicholas, and you saw Woods coming through. Who has played the most impressive golf, Chip, that you have seen?
Well, for 10 years, Tiger Woods played the best golf in the world. I never dreamed anybody could even get close to what Nicholas was doing at the rate that Nicholas was winning. Nicholas was winning 25% of his tournaments. And the way Tiger won, it was just extraordinary. And the way he could putt. And I loved his command of the game. And I think that, you know, understanding that he was the best in the world on the par fives, from 240 to 260, he was the world leader in the history of the game. And I think that's when he won, he beat people by 125 strokes on the par fives. Like I remember when I won the Barden Trophy, I laid up every par five either at 75 or 175 or 50. And I laid up. And that year I took 2 weeks off because Tom Watson said, you got to take 2 weeks off and come back. I was fresh every week. That was hard for me. It was the only time I ever did it in my career. But I laid up and I played percentages, and I beat everybody on par fives that year. And I won the Barden Trophy, won twice. So strategy is really important. But Tiger, they, you know, with all the statisticians, they figured and they knew that he was probably the greatest player that ever lived from 225 to 265. He was phenomenal. And that's where he beat everybody.
Mm. And who's closest to him in the golf that you've seen?
Well, that was the great thing about Nicklaus. He was the first guy to hit long, towering one irons, you know, and Tom Weiskopf didn't have the mental capacity that Nicklaus had, but he had the game because they could hit that ball high. And that's how you win U.S. Opens and big tournaments, being able to flight the ball properly with you know, you're getting the ball close on those par fives because everybody plays the threes and the fours pretty similarly. It's hard to leave the pack, but the par fives is where your money's made. Mm. So Nicklaus was by far the best putter and the best under pressure, you know. And so who knows if Tiger and Nicklaus, they'd be neck and neck, in my opinion. Love to have seen them play together.
Yeah.
And if you were to look at the current crop of younger superstars, your Brooks, your Rorys, your Jordan Spieths, whoever, who do you think, based on your own estimation, has the best chance to break that double-digit major barrier?
Wow, that is really a good question. You know, I thought Fleetwood was going to just be a world beater. He's starting to play better. He's got potential to be a really great player. He's already proven that, right? You know, Justin Thomas, it's interesting. Like when I look at Justin Thomas, you know, he wins 6 times and he loses 2 Sundays leading tournaments because he's hitting a 25-yard hook. And he's taught by a guy my age that his grip is a little bit weak and he starts twisting the wrist on the downswing. And anytime you start closing the face, you got to swing to the right to get the ball starting on your line, which brings in pushes and hooks. Mm. And, you know, if I'm looking at him, it's like Nicklaus said, he went to Jack Grout in 1978 and he said he's playing terribly. Jack said, you got to move your left thumb a 1/4 inch to the right. That allows you to use the muscle between the thumb and the index finger and the muscle in your elbow so you can hold the energy without having the hands to bow and twist. And Nicklaus immediately started playing better, and he won the U.S. Open in '79. I think it was where he beat Isao Aoki. I was at that tournament, actually. And so he could actually, with his thrusting and his power, if he had a little bit stronger grip, he could actually thrust up and to the left and hit a drop fade instead of always playing that big sweeping hook. I would have a hard time playing like he plays. But, I mean, he's a child prodigy. He's learned to play that hook. But I think he could moderate it by adjusting that grip just a little bit because it takes all that play and that hand rotation out. And so once you have the hand in the right place, it just comes down. It doesn't have to twist. And the clutch, it's already on plane. So you just fire it through. And if you rotate left, it'll counterbalance the droop. Closing the face, the ball will drip to the right. I mean, it's an easier way to play golf, even today with you know, with the speed that he has. The kid is remarkable. He gives me hope, and he gives young juniors hope, because I think when the USJ allowed the spring in the face, unbeknownst to them, the game had moved too far along. But in the process, they took the small kid out, like a Corey Pavin soaking wet at 150 pounds, trying to carry the ball 230. It was a difficult task. And Corey Pavin's one of the great players of all time. I'd look at Corey Pavin, I'd say, I'm going to beat Corey every day. He beat me every day. That guy was a great putter. I saw him, I played with him in tournaments where he never missed a putt inside 10 feet. Never. And he won the tournament running away. And it's like the small kid, that was always the beauty of our game. You can get what you don't have. If you're small, you can be a great putter. You can be a great chipper. You don't have to be the longest hitter. But with the new technology and the spring in that face, God, the ball goes too far. It gives them way too much advantage. And I've never seen players less refined than they are today winning huge tournaments.
Yeah.
In my day, you couldn't get to college golf if you weren't a really good chipper and putter. Impossible.
That's an amazing insight into Justin Thomas's game. I've never heard anyone saying that. What do you see in Rory McIlroy's game?
Purely a gifted ball striker, and I love his move is just sound as can be. I think he probably hits it as good as anybody in the world. And I like the fact that he was working with Dave Stockton, because one of the things I noticed, even when he won the U.S. Open by 12 shots or whatever it was, 8 shots, I can't remember now, it's been so long, but he is open with his left shoulder, and he's a block pusher with his putter. So he's always going to be streaky. I've got a son that putts that way. He's an open left shoulder block pusher. Man, I'm telling you what, it's hard to putt like that. But Stockton brought him back, because Stockton's down. You know, you use the D-loft and you hit on the ascent. And but the putter is moving this way. It's not swinging open. It's just straight back, straight through. And I think those are the putters that actually putt the best. There's a little swing just because of the side bend of the shaft and all. So it's slightly. But the reality is, if you're pushing the putter away from the center, you're not going to putt as well. So like one of the best putting drills is if you put a bar up about 6 inches off the ground, just a pole, and you run your shaft on that bar, the putter shaft's moving straight back and forth, but the putter's on a slight arc. Those, to me, are the best putters. And I think that's where Rory, has gotten better. But still, if he putted like Jordan Spieth or Tiger Woods, I mean, that kid would just win everything. So he seems to be getting better, though. But I love his flair, and I like the way they're able to play with a lot on them. They have a lot of social media. They have a lot of people wanting interviews. I was always intrigued with Nicklaus, after a round, straight to the media, an hour. And it's like, it's hard to do that every day like Tiger did and Rory. Every time they got media, that would drive me crazy. I don't know how they do it. But, the young kids are really confident and able to deal with all that's thrown at them. It's great.
I think you'd be okay in the media somehow. I think you might. Muster up a line or two.
Yeah, but I really like the practice, and I like the play. Like one time I was playing Augusta. I was the last guy off the course at dark, and I was the first out the next morning. The next morning, I did not miss a shot the first 8 holes. I was 8 over par. The greens where I hit my ball, boom, over the green. They changed the course overnight. They rolled that water out of them. They got as hard as concrete. I've never seen anything like it. And I got back in the top 10 after starting 8 over par.
Wow.
That was amazing. But that's how Augusta, you have to be able to adapt, right? And I thought, man, so the players got really upset because if you hit the ball 1 inch short of the green, it's come all the way back. If you hit on the green, it was over the green. So then they started taking the water all the way down 10 yards off the green. So, you know, it was more fair.
Well,
So
listen,
golf's a great game.
Sorry, Joe. I do
Yes.
think, Chip, you didn't finish your 59 story, because how long was it after you signed the card for the 59? Did you go after Eric Hilton?
You know, the reality is that was probably the nicest thing that happened to me, because the PGA Tour set up a scholarship in my name and the PGA of America, and it was funded with that money. So we put 50 some odd people with the Evans Scholar Foundation through college. So that's pretty good. That's the largest privately funded scholarship in the world. They have thousands of students that are caddies that, you know, go to college, and great colleges, through the Evans Scholar Foundation. And so my scholarships are actually still funded by the tour and the PGA of America. So, I mean, for me, it's amazing what that's meant to me. It makes me feel really good that something that I did in one day actually paid benefits. So Eric Hilton did all that, and with the tour commissioner had that organized. So that was great.
Well, that's a good note to finish on. Listen, you've been so good with your time. It's been fascinating to hear you talk about all these great players and these great moments. And maybe when the golf is back on soon, we might nag you in November, October time when the Masters is on, and preview the Masters with you or something.
Love it. And I'm coming up your way next June. We're already setting the plan for next year.
Okay. Well, we'll try track you down in person and do something, hopefully.
That'd be great. We'd love to do that.
Great. Chip
Thanks
Beck,
for having me.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.